Okay, and just a little bit about us. What we're looking for here is, again, okay, skip this. Thank you. Continue forward. A little technical there, but please continue. Dorota, please continue. Yes, please. Yeah, so basically our aim is to promote coaching and serve individuals, organizations, and the coaching community in Saudi Arabia. You see here, this is our board, and as mentioned, we just began this term this month. And at this time, I'd like to invite the current chapter president, Mr. Saud Al-Omer, to give a few words.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to our first event at the IC Saudi Arabia chapter, ICF Saudi Arabia chapter. And so today is actually the beginning of the International Coaching Week. This is our first event. Thank you for joining us. And please enjoy the session. And we are very excited to start with Dorota, a very senior coach, and to learn from her about the coaching, and also learn from the moderator and the other speaker, and also over the week. What's all about the coaching and how to the coaching in practice in Saudi Arabia, and how it's linked to certain and other events. And so we will be looking forward to the whole week. And I highly recommend that you, if you have not registered already, you need to register in the other events so you can attend. We have limited seats every day, so just make sure that before the session starts, that you join the session. Thank you very much for joining us. And it's over to you, Salman and Dorota. All the best.
Thank you very much. So yes, as we continue, I just would like to, you could go to the next slide, Dorota. I'm allowing Dorota to keep the slide deck with her, so we have any kind of technical difficulties. This is a welcome now to Dorota Karas and a workshop on Journey to Coaching Mastery. And as you'll see on the next slide, a little bit about Dorota and her background. So my colleague here in Saudi Aramco for nearly 9 years, 8 in a coaching role, but 17 years coaching experience, with over 2,500 coaching sessions with 600 leaders within Saudi Aramco, the company, and also an entrepreneur freelance coach prior to working with the coaching function in Saudi Aramco. A little bit about her background. She's an organizational psychologist with a master's in that area, but also BSc in psychology and counseling. And she is one of only 5 ICF master certified coaches in Saudi Arabia, and along with many other coach certifications and diplomas. So without any further ado, I turn it over to Dorota Karas.
Thank you very much, Salman. And assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening. I am truly honored to be here tonight to celebrate and contribute to the 2022 International Coaching Week. And I'm also really proud to be part of this vibrant and growing Saudi Arabia ICF coaching chapter. In my years here, I've seen this incredible growth of the profession, and how the Saudi chapter is really taking the leadership role to promote coaching culture and grow the coaching profession. So it's a real privilege to see all the innovation and changes within the industry within Saudi Arabia. And I believe that coaching is a real catalyst to help the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and indeed the Gulf region, to really transform the current trajectory of growth to even higher heights. It's a really exciting place that we are with our profession, isn't it? And tonight, I want to focus on a topic that sits closest to my heart. And just as we strive as coaches to support our clients on their journey, the question is, do we leave enough time to support our own journey of development? And it is this concept of constant journey of development that I want us to talk about, and to inspire you to never stop growing. And as we're getting into today's session, I encourage you to practice one of the core coaching competencies coaching presence. Because how you do one thing, it's how you do other things. So let's just stop all the multitasking and become really present here. And so today, we're going to spend some time to connecting ourselves to our own motivation for our ongoing development. And when I introduce you to a model that will help you to identify development gaps for yourself as well as for your clients, as well as some of the strategies that can help you to close those gaps. Because depends on where the gap is, the strategy might actually differ. And finally, we'll also at least have a beginning, or at least the draft of your own coach development plan for your own journey to mastery. And so with that in mind, when we talk about journey to mastery, it may be worth to first asking ourselves, what does mastery really mean? What does mastering coaching mean? I might actually move this some way if I can. Just a second, give me a second. Yeah, you're able to see better. So starting really with defining the mastery from ICF perspective, mastery could be seen as progressive certification for each of the level. And for those of you who are new to ICF certification, ICF have 3 levels. So there's ACC, PCC, and MCC. And as you are partnering for each level of development, preparing yourself and getting that credential, you will have opportunity to master new and different level of skills. So from my perspective, mastery is not so much getting to MCC and this is the end, but it's ongoing, never-ending development. And so for ACC, let me see if I can, yes. For ACC level, you will be starting to master skills like asking questions and maybe even asking specific problem focus or solution focus questions at the beginning. However, just a shift from telling and answering or giving our expertise to asking questions, for many people, it's a huge shift in development. And there's an opportunity to really master that skill. For a PCC, you need to demonstrate new level of competence. And this time you need to go deeper beyond problem solving and looking into the whole person approach, looking beneath the topic and maybe explore things like emotions, beliefs, mindsets, values, or even body language. And with this in mind, it's a really a mixture approach of, yes, you do solve the client's problems, but at the same time, you're addressing the who of the client, who the client really is. And now for the MCC level, you are moving to another level of mastery. And this time it's not so much anymore about becoming better at specific skill or specific tool or technique. It's really about who are you being as a coach and who are you becoming. And as a result, you have to be able to lean into unknown, to trust the process and to trust that your role as a coach is more about creating that sacred space where transformation naturally occurs. And in my view, even at MCC level, the mastery or the journey doesn't end here. It's really about never ending, never stop growing journey that is just so fascinating and at times also challenging to be on. And even from the new introduction of new coaching competencies, you have seen the addition to the competency called embodying coaching mindset. And there are a couple of pointers there, such as engaging in ongoing learning and development as a coach and developing reflective practice. And this is some of the things that we're going to be looking a little bit deeper in this session today. But first of all, I'm really curious, who do we have here in the room with us? And so feel free to use a chat function just to answer whether you're ACC, PCC, MCC, or maybe you haven't even begun on the ICF certification journey. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. We have few PCCs. Wow, fantastic. This is an incredible achievement. Congratulations. Several ACC. Wow, incredible number of PCC. I think that's definitely a testament to the great work of Saudi ICF chapter promoting the coaching culture and coaching standards. Fantastic work, you guys. Anyone here not even on the haven't started on the ICF certification pathway yet? I will have a few people also working towards. Fantastic. Congratulations, guys. It's really great to be here with you, and as you will learn later on through my story, being in that beginner's mindset is actually something which is really, really special. And the more you stay in the profession, the more you have to work at it. I'll just close off this for a second. So you will certainly notice that although focusing on next level of certification might certainly bring you increase in confidence and competence and also credibility, this is actually just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to potential benefit that you experience by engaging into your own journey towards mastery. From my experience, some of the things that you will certainly notice as you're going through your own journey is your clients will be more satisfied with the coaching that you offer. They will be more engaged. You're not going to have to chase them anymore. And you will also notice they will be less likely to cancel, to drop out. And of course, naturally, the return on investment, return on efforts will significantly increase. But the question is, what in it really for you? What benefit can you expect for yourself when you engage into that focused, deliberate development journey towards mastery? So in a moment, or maybe in a few minutes, we will actually go into a breakout room and we have a chance to explore our deeper motivation for what is it that's really brought you to coaching and what is it that's going to keep your development going forever and ever and ever. But first, before we actually do that, let us just a second. Let us let me share maybe just a little bit about my own development journey. And when people think about development, most of the time we're thinking of a straight line. However, the reality is often very, very different. To develop yourself, you must be willing to step back, to make mistakes, to retreat in a way. You must be willing to like Napoleon Bonaparte say, retreat in order to succeed. And for me, the coaching journey started about 17 years ago, when I was still during my first degree in psychology. And the beginning was truly exciting. It was absolutely exponential growth. I was surrounded by some of the greatest minds in psychology, in therapy, in coaching. And the coaching profession in Europe, at least at the time, was still at very early stages of the development, with very few coaching schools, very few publications, and virtually unlimited opportunities. However, when I graduated and moved away from university, and I started on my own, I started to notice a plateauing in my development. And I remember thinking, or closing my coaching session, reflecting on it, what else can I learn here? The learning seemed to be just repeated, and there doesn't seem to be any more for me to develop. And I remember this a time was still filled with tons of coaching hours. And maybe it was because my development was actually focused on other things, in this case, growing my coaching business rather than enhancing coaching competence. But I was truly practicing coaching. And I thought that this would be enough to take me to the next level of mastery. However, when I decided to finally join ICF, I already had collected over 1,000 hours of coaching. And to my surprise, maybe even shock, I wasn't ready. I engaged in working with a mentor coach and discovered that I had tons of bad habits that kept me where I was. And those habits were really strongly reinforced. So as I began to prepare, my confidence was crushed. I was totally devastated and thought that I might never reach this goal. And what I learned through that process was that unlearning some of the bad habits was a lot harder than learning new habits right from the beginning. So this is one of the lessons that I really wanted to share with you and encourage you to continue your development no matter what. And if you notice yourself being in that place of plateauing where you're not really growing anymore, there's something that it's really needs to happen to sort of push yourself out of that comfort zone. And very often you might notice that your development actually decreased temporarily, or at least it feels that way from the receiver point of view. However, I would say it's well worth it. So for me, working towards my PCC, I was really lucky that there were people around me who believed in me and who provided just the right level of support, encouragement, challenge, accountability. And with all the support I had, there was also tons of learning. One of the things that it took me probably about 2 years to master was trying to reduce the time for the sessions. So at the time, most of my sessions were going over an hour and a half. And frankly, I did believe I had some great result and noticed great transformation. However, all this was very, very time consuming. And the only way I could help people to transform would be spending at least an hour and a half to maybe sometimes even 2 hours with the clients. I knew that there must be a different way of approaching it. And at the beginning, I really didn't know what is it that I could do differently. And later on, I discovered that this particular challenge for me was very much related to not mastering the competency of establishing coaching agreement. And if you are one of those people who tend to have crazily long sessions, you might have a brilliant result. I encourage you to explore that competency a little bit deeper. But it takes not just knowing what is it that you need to develop to actually master that. It requires observing, role modeling, getting feedback, asking hypothetical questions, getting feedback also from the clients. And so with all that, it might take a little bit of time, but it's well worth it, because just as soon as you get it, once you discover what is that secret ingredient, you will notice the benefits follows too. Equally, my journey towards MCC was also filled with challenges, though nowhere close to the same level as experience when preparing towards PCC. And here it was, of course, no longer about techniques or tools. It was really about who I was becoming. It was about learning how to be patient, being self-compassionate, trusting my intuition, and constantly keeping in check my mindset, my emotions, my biases, my beliefs. And all this with the whole idea of embracing a vulnerability. So with that in mind, it was an incredible journey of development. And for me, I wish that that sort of focus would have started way, way earlier on. But no matter where you are, no matter at how far you are from ACC, PCC, or MCC, you always need to be working towards mastering different skills. And challenging yourself with things like this week or for this session, what is it that you're going to do different? What is it that you're going to master? And repeating the process until it becomes effortless and fluid, and you don't even have to think about it. It just becomes part of you and part of who you are. So to really get there, it required deepening the awareness of my own being. I started to meditate, engage in reflective practices, recording my session, listening to my own voice, which was far from present at the beginning. And obviously seeking feedback and getting feedback from the clients. I also learned that by doing that, it helped me to access a different state of being and to connect to my own intuition, to become aware of my own biases and to challenge them constantly and continuously. Furthermore, you learn how to listen beyond words, how to pay attention to your own and other people's emotions, their body language, what data, what messages might be hidden in all of those things such as values and beliefs. And approaching this with very curious mindset, helping people really to discover and partnering with them rather than sort of like we typically start in the coaching journey, doing coaching to them. I've also found myself developing what I call positivity bias, so that to be able to notice clients' greatest strengths and some positive qualities, so that I could authentically acknowledge them. Because sometimes in the process, it might feel like you're just doing this out of mechanical needs for doing so. And even things like gaining courage to be vulnerable with clients. What does that really mean without exposing yourself and without focusing the session on you as a coach? There was tremendous amount of learning for me. And all that certainly came through what I call sort of like peaks and valleys. Yes, there was many moments where I felt, wow, I finally got it. I overcome this major challenge. And there was a time when things went back. And once again, I couldn't figure out what is it that's preventing me to be truly masterful in that specific skill. So there were tons of lessons learned, and I'm sharing the story with you in hope that you will maybe avoid some of the mistakes that I certainly made during my journey, and I'm sure I will continue to make more. As I believe that willingness to look at your own self, willingness to look at your own mistake is one of the best way to accelerating your own development. And just so that to summarize this points here, for those of you who are at ACC level or looking towards ACC level, and it is really great to be able to surround yourself by people who are in this industry. You're not only going to be able to have your questions answered, but also naturally by just osmosis, by absorption, you'll be able to get their mindset and how they think. And of course, one of the core things that when we're looking at ACC level is really getting out of that consulting mode and learning how to ask rather than tell, which also really require mastering your own ego. For those of you who are at PCC level or working towards PCC level, you would probably feel very competent in asking problem-solving questions, having that mindset, and even having clients being really happy with you because the problems simply disappear at the end of the session. However, on this level, I highly encourage you to start to really look a little bit deeper beyond the surface. So even when clients bring the topic, curiously question it. What is it about that topic? What is it about that specific things that's really trigger value for that client? And most important lesson for me, it's certainly looking how to avoid plateauing, because that's when there's opportunity for bad habit to creep in and develop. And finally, for those of you, and I've seen from the chat earlier on that there are quite few of you who already at PCC level and maybe looking kind of longer term towards MCC. Remember, it is not just about collecting the coaching hours. And yes, it is large number of hours. It goes from 500 to over 2,500. But it is really, the focus is so much on you as a tool. You become the tool. So developing this deep sense of awareness, emotional regulation. Just to give you an example of my own, recently when I was still preparing towards MCC, I remember reflecting on some sessions and some clients, and I was feeling very frustrated with clients who would come to the session not prepared, or maybe not knowing what to work on, or maybe bringing topics like, I would like some tips and techniques, even though we already spend significant amount of time contracting and agreeing on what coaching is and what coaching is not. Later on, when I spent some time reflecting on this topic, I realized that this was actually my interpretation of the tips and techniques. And when I shifted that mindset, when I became really curious, what is it about those tips and techniques that is important to client, and really approaching it from different perspective, I find out that I didn't actually have to share any of my expertise or knowledge, that the client was able to come up with their own tips and techniques. But in addition to that, they would have major learning about who they are and who they becoming as part of that process. And there were many other skills that I felt I had to master on that journey, and as many of them I've already mentioned. But as we exploring this better, I really want to shift the gears and focus on your own development. What is your own underlying motivation to become master in coaching, to continue your ongoing, forever, never-ending journey? The question is, what was the one thing that really got you interested in coaching? What is it that's fueling your motivation to continue to develop, to continue to attend sessions like this, or maybe reading books or taking extra trainings? And at this stage, I'd like us to separate into breakout room. So we can separate into pairs, so two people per room. I will be happy to stay here, and feel free to take a screenshot of the slide here. And as you work with the other person, the other coach, see if you can actually coach them on what is it that got them interested in coaching in the first place. What is that underlying motivation? What's beneath that, and what's beneath that? And so I will give you about 15 minutes to maybe 20 minutes. So 10 minutes per each person. And to really spend some time to tuning in and connecting to your own motivation. If you have any question at all about the exercise, feel free to ask. And if not, Sanman will take us in a moment into the breakout rooms, where you will meet just another person who is on this call today.
Okay, so I'm sending everyone now to the breakout rooms.
Mm-hmm. And just before that, any questions at all? So I'll just give you a time to.
Yeah, people are moving into their rooms.
Great. I'm going to stay here, so just in case if someone comes back.
Yeah, I think as hosts we stay anyways.
Great.
I think. Lareem's in a room.
Hello, can you send me to a room? Because I got cut off. Hello.
Yes, Aliyah?
Yes, can you send me to a room to join a room, please?
Just wait for Salman to do his magic.
Okay, thank you. When will the session be ending tonight?
It's 90 minutes long.
90 minutes. Okay.
By 8:30 we'll end, maybe even earlier,
Okay.
depending on questions.
Okay. So what's happening?
I believe someone is just working the moving people to breakout rooms. I guess he's somewhere out, so let's see if I can move you. So there's a couple of people who don't seem to have that capability. Just give me 2 seconds.
I'm okay right now. I'll join the room 16. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, great. I can still see a couple of people here in the main room. Were you able to join, or feel free to unmute yourself and speak up?
Yeah, I went to room 16, but there was nobody there.
Okay.
Maybe some people need to join. Who's still here in this room? I see 10 participants.
I can see the couple of people. I don't have the capability to move people to the room, so we're gonna have to just wait for Salman.
No, I think there's like a pop-up on the left side of the screen. At least I see it. It says join breakout room. So maybe
Yes.
me and somebody else that can try to push that. Because I went there and nobody was there. So that's why I was wondering.
Okay, have a try and see what happens.
I'll go there and wait. Maybe somebody else will join. Okay, thank you.
And if not, are you still here, Alia? Anyone else here in the main room?
Yes, hello. I was alone in the break room. So, which room can I join?
To be honest, I'm not so sure. But if we're gonna wait for Salman, we can just do this exercise right here. Whoever is left in the main room, feel free to unmute yourself and just speak up. What is that got you started in coaching? How did you get started?
Oh, okay. I was helping so many people around me, like for very, very long time without noticing myself that I'm helping. And then I realized that I'm really helping people. So I thought, why not? I can help people in the right way. So I start searching, and I figured out that life coach is my path, that I can help people around me and help the community within the right way.
So for you, it was all about helping, the value of help.
Yes.
With of getting into this profession.
Yes.
Wow, fantastic. And so how does it feel now that you became coach already, trained where you are on your journey?
Yeah, I have started not for from a long time, few months ago actually, and I'm working towards my ACC now. So yeah, it's been very nice, and yeah, I felt this is what makes me happy, and I am really enjoying what I'm doing.
And how is that gonna link to your motivation for ongoing, forever, never-ending development?
Yeah, this is actually, that's why I'm here. Yeah, I'm trying my best so I can work on that. So I won't be frustrated or in some points. Uh, but yeah, I have to refresh myself every once in a while with surrounding myself with professional people, guidance. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, thank you for sharing. Just before we go a little bit deeper into your story, I'm noticing that there are a few more people coming back to the main room. And
Yeah.
I also want to check in with anyone else. Does anyone
Okay. Thank you so much.
would like to share what's your story? What's your motivation for developing yourself as a coach?
Yes, can I share my story?
Please.
Yeah, my name is Alia Muradi. I live in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Started the journey of life coaching, I think a year and a half ago. It's it started as a inquiry about what is life coaching and so forth. Somebody told me about it. I took a couple of classes on coaching, and I found it very interesting. And I did connect with the coach that was giving the course, so I enrolled full time in that, and they were giving part of the. I think they were giving the ICF competencies, plus they were giving the emotional intelligence part of the course, so that got me hooked, and what the journey with the coaching, it helped me first of all, I think, with myself, because I was going through a difficult time in my life, and the emotional intelligence was really, I think, a real key with learning about myself as a person. So, I mean, it's a journey. I mean, it's a learning process, and you never finish it. I mean, this is, I mean, until the day you die. But for me, it opened up so many avenues, so many, bulbs in my head that this is really important for every single person to have that emotional intelligence. And for me, I wanted to work with the cancer patients because my son has leukemia, and that's what started the journey actually. And I found that there's really they needed that emotional intelligence and how to deal with the illness. So I focused on that, and I took, when I finished the first ICF course, and it was not the ICF course actually. I enrolled in another ICF accredited course to go deeper on in the ICF competencies. And after that, I took an online course on cancer coaching, which really, I mean, I loved it so much. It was like a different dimension of coaching. It's an ICF accredited program. It was the only accredited program I looked, whereas, I mean, I don't know how I stumbled on it. There's no luck, but I stumbled on that program, and I took part of it. I did not take the whole certification, because it's the same as ICF certification, like an ACC, plus it's geared to cancer coaching. So I took part of that program, which enhanced the motivation, because this is exactly what I want to do. And I'm trying now to do some workshops with the kids, volunteering at Senad, to help adolescents and children with emotional intelligence and regarding to their illness. So this is my motivation. I mean, every single day. And what I'm doing something different, a little bit different, to have it geared to what I want, to what I believe in, my values, is to have the emotional intelligence in an Islamic point of view, because I think Islam has really encompasses the emotional intelligence in our prophet's life. So we have a lot of let's say his way of living, how he lived his life with people, how he dealt with people, how he dealt with, day-to-day grief, and how he dealt with his life. It was really, I think for me, it's a role model, and I wanted to incorporate that with the learning. So for me now, did not apply for the ACC yet, because I'm working on towards a PCC. I still have 20 credits that I have to fulfill, plus the hours that I need to give. For the coaching hours, I have, I think, maybe 70 hours of coaching. So it's a long journey. But I'm enjoying every single day of it, and it totally shifted my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
very
Aliyah,
much.
for sharing a really fascinating story, and it's really incredible how something so challenging, like the situation with health of your son, became now something that you're really passionate about and helping so many other people through that. That's really a powerful story, and clearly you have a very specific niche there too. So
Yes,
really, thank you for sharing, Aliyah.
Thank you very much.
Just to check in, Salman, are people still in the breakout rooms, or where we are with
Yes, Rhoda, there are. I've been monitoring the breakout rooms to make sure nobody's by themselves, but I'm not sure why not everyone, like a lot of your names are assigned to breakout rooms, but then not joined. So there seems to be a glitch, but I have been monitoring to make sure nobody's by themselves. Everybody in it's at least 2 or 3 people.
Okay. So I guess with that in mind, maybe we can give people notice maybe 1 more minute in the breakout rooms, and then we can bring people back. We still have a couple of things to cover.
Okay, I'll send that message.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So maybe just
Can I ask sorry, can I ask a question? It's a technical question about ICF. I don't know if you can answer me. For me, I covered the ACC requirements almost. Do you recommend me taking the ACC certificate, then work on because what's missing between the ACC and the PCC is like the coaching hours. So do they recommend me taking the ACC accreditation, then work on the rest of my coaching hours for the PCC, or just wait until I finish all my PCC requirements and take the PCC altogether? Do you know about this situation?
So there are a number of requirements there. So for you to become ACC Associate Certified Coach, you will need to have 100 coaching hours experience or coaching, minimum of 60 hours of coach specific training, as well as 10 hours of coach mentoring. And depend on which route you're going through, if you're going through a CSTH route pathway, you will also need to submit a recording of the actual coaching session that will basically meet the requirement for ACC level. Now, when you're looking at PCC level, the number of coaching hours that you have to have as experienced coach increases to 500, and the coach training hours increases to 125, and then you need another set of 10 mentor hours too. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I know about all of this, but because I'm working on my mentoring hours right now, and I know about the recordings and everything, and I think there's an exam I have to take. But is it better for me to go through don't go through like ACC accreditation and then do the hours and then apply for PCC? That's one route. Or the second route is just don't apply for ACC, apply all the way to PCC and finish the requirements and do that.
Got you.
This is what's that? Yeah.
I would highly recommend you to apply for ACC first, and you will definitely challenge you to develop yourself to, and meanwhile you will earn that extra credibility. In my own personal story, I went directly into PCC, and frankly, that journey was very, very challenging. If I could have done it again, I would have definitely applied for ACC first, and then for PCC whenever I would be ready for that. It's a lot easier and gentler approach than, you know, going directly for quite an advanced level and maybe, you know, having all those, like in my case, you know, confidence crash and all those kind of things that are not always that comfortable.
Because my training was, they trained me for a PCC level, and the training we got for the ICF, the certification, because I do have now 100 hours already for coach, not coaching, but I have the training 100 hours. I need 25 hours left, and the mentoring, I think they apply both on PCC and ACC. I know that the difference for me is going to be the hours of coaching. Instead of 100, I need 500. So this is why I'm not sure what's the best approach to do. Yeah.
You can also check in with Salman. He did that specific route. So he also went for ACTP training. He applied for ACC, and then maybe within 6 months, when he collected enough hours for PCC, he got just upgraded to PCC. So that's one way of doing it. It's obviously all very, very open and flexible, but if I was you, I would definitely go for ACC first.
I see. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So Salman, where we are now, are we back to the main room?
Yes, I closed all the rooms, so people should be on their way back. All the breakout rooms have been closed.
Okay, perfect. So I guess we have the 45 people back into the main room. So welcome back. I really love to hear from a couple of you, and maybe the best way to do that would be through chat function. How did you find that exercise? Were you able to discover something about yourself, or maybe even help another coach to discover their underlying motivation? Feel free to share in the chat. Someone said there's a problem with the audio. Can you hear? Can everyone hear me? Okay, so we have people saying that maybe it is on your side. Salam. So people typing, people making connection. Fantastic. The more you're able to connect to your own personal why, the easier it is going to be for you to develop and continue to develop towards the ongoing mastery. And with that in mind, I also want to give you just a couple of moments to start working on your own development plan as a coach. How many of you and you know, feel free to use the emotion of the thumbs up if you already have your own coach development plan developed. So we have a couple of people who have their own development plan. Does anyone here doesn't have a development plan yet? So I'll present you with this framework here for developing your own plan as a coach. And for a specific reason, I'll encourage you to really start with the why. What is the motivation for you? Why is it that is really worthwhile for you to put time, energy, effort to develop yourself? And as you take a moment, just make a note to yourself, maybe just even a couple of words. what is that motivation that is the driving fuel for your development. And of course, we're going to be having an opportunity to look at the other aspect of a good development plan, such as, first of all, what to develop. Also looking at some of the strategies that you could use to develop yourself. Because obviously attending a workshop like this is just one option, but there are many, many, many different ways as well. What resources you have and what date you have in mind for developing that specific skill or specific habit. Since we have about half an hour left, I want to introduce you now to this model, and it's a model adapted from David Peterson, and it's something that can help you to identify a specific gap in your own development and preventing that potential plateau. And so wherever you are on your development journey, there may be one or there may be more than one of those specific segments that may be a bottleneck for you to move yourself to the next level. So the first one, and not necessarily in that order, is insights or self-awareness. So it's the question of, do you know what you need to develop? And here you can obviously check in with the competency model. And as you're looking through them, do you know which of them is the strongest for you? Which of them is the one that requires the most effort? And so the competency model is something that you could take it on even later on after the session and really, becoming very honest with yourself to see which of those competencies you're showing on a consistent basis. It doesn't mean whether you actually show or know how to do it, but do you actually demonstrating it on a day-to-day basis? And there's also, something called PCC markers. So you could use those to help yourself to increase that insight. Some other way of increasing insight, maybe seeking feedback from your clients. And that one is really interesting because most of the time, if someone's working with you, they will be very, very nice towards you and tell you, oh yes, the coaching is fantastic, it's great, especially if the major problem that they come into coaching with is being solved. So how can you use that feedback from your client to help yourself to get that extra insight? So this is something I use for a really, really long time as a habit. Pretty much at the end of every single question or session, I would ask my client, how useful was the session for them out of 10? So if they said, for example, 9 out of 10, I knew that there's something missing. And that would usually be a start for a really deep conversation. What is it that could make that session from 9, which is obviously very good and satisfying, to actually 10 or more? And when people say 10, you would also hear just different energy in their voice. And sometimes if you ask this question too many times, clients will learn that and straight away go for 10 just because they're not going to want to have that conversation. But in most cases than not, you will find that you're going to learn a lot about your own coaching from that. And probably one of the key or most useful way of developing that insight or self-awareness is having a mentor coach. And so ICF requires you to have minimum of 10 mentoring hours for each level of credential. But even in between, even if you're not going for any credential, but finding yourself to plateau, finding yourself that I'm not sure what to develop, where to develop, getting even just a couple of mentoring sessions, someone reviewing your coaching and really giving you that specific deliberate feedback can be very, very helpful there.
Baroda, there's a great comment from Abdullah about a feedback form. You could send a feedback form to them, but I could bring that to you for your comments.
This is fantastic idea. So feedback form, it's and do you have any specific questions, Abdullah, on that feedback form that you're seeking to know?
Yes, hello, Dorita. Yeah, actually, I have a lot of questions there. They can evaluate the session and they can, elaborate what they hope the coaching do, but he didn't do, and what on the opposite side, if what the coaching did, but they didn't like it, and all of that, it's given me a lot of useful information about that.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Thank you very much, Abdullah.
Welcome.
So the second area of potential bottlenecks is your own motivation, meaning that, do you have enough of a reason for why you want to develop certain thing? Because developing something will require, challenging yourself, putting yourself out there, making mistakes. And in order to be willing to do that, there has to be enough of payoff. And the same model you can also use with clients. And so, as you know, in coaching, pretty much every single session, no matter, where the client is, what challenge they're working on, we always looking at motivation. And in my experience as a coach, motivation is at least 50% of issue for majority of the client. It doesn't mean that the client say, oh, I don't want to develop that. Of course they want to, but is that motivation strong enough, and certainly stronger than the potential cost and expense of challenging yourself and putting and risking out, because development can be risky. However, of course, the return always must be bigger than the pay. And so this is why we also spend a little bit of time on connecting and tapping into your own motivation as a coach. And when you're coaching, tapping into areas like values and asking questions around what is it really important about that specific topic that the client bring into that session is really helping them connect to that motivation a little bit deeper. Any questions here? Anything? Or shall we move to if there's any question, feel free to type in the chat and someone can prompt me if there's any questions to answer here. So the next level is capability, and capability is different than insights. So you might, for example, be given feedback from your mentor coach that you need to improve this and this. Let's say, having very simple question rather than stacking question, 2 or 3 questions all in once. However, knowing that you're not supposed to do that versus actually doing that in practice is 2 different stories. And it really does require practice. It requires constant challenging yourself and constantly keeping yourself accountable to increase that level of capability. And as you know, through the ICF credentializing process, you may, for example, very easily pass the ICF credentializing exam, and that will assess your knowledge. However, you may still have a challenge in passing the actual demonstration session. So this is really a lot more about capability. And so the more you practice, however, the deliberate practice, the more likely you increase that capability. And moving on to that very, very next step is real world practice. So remember, I share with you my own example of having a lot of thousands and thousands of coaching hours and practicing coaching, but without reflection, without deliberately thinking, what is it that I'm going to do differently this session? How I'm going to be even more effective? How can I take the same impact and the same results that I typically have and able to do it through a lot more efficient manner, so that rather than have an hour and a half sessions, I can have maybe 30 minutes or even 1 hour and still achieve the same deep transformation. And so I believe that practice by itself is important. However, if that's all you're doing, you will very, very quickly reach a plateau. And that's why having good mentors, supervisors, other people around you, it's really critical here. And the final step of the process is accountability. I mean, how will you know that you actually achieved that goal? How will you know that you've progressed and you develop that competency? So there may be a number of potential self-accountability things that you can set up. So you can set up, for example, a deadline for yourself. You can set up a mentoring session. And so your mentor coach can support you and can tell you, yes, improvement or this, you are doing better on this and this area. And it may be even just going through the credentializing process. And as you're achieving your credential, it sort of keeps you accountable that now you've reached a certain level of competence. And there may be many, many more of potential ideas that you could implement here. But the question is really, when you are working with clients, do you have a very clear sort of measurable goal, so that when you're working with client, you and the client will actually know that you've achieved, you succeeded. And so accountability plays a really critical function here too. So this is the model that I'll encourage you to use on a frequent basis, as you may be doing through or going through your own reflection and looking at how could I take my coaching to the next level? Is it, do I need to improve my insight and figuring out where do I need to grow? Do I need to ramp up my practice? Do I need to set up some accountability so I know when I actually succeed? Or maybe even consequences. And you can actually utilize this tool also with clients. So when, for example, sometimes client might come to the session not knowing what to explore. They might have a topic, but they might not know how to move from that topic to a specific session goal. So that this tool can be also very, very effective for this as well. We have one more exercise here. But before we go into that exercise, I wonder if you have any question at all around this model and how to use it. Feel free to either open mic or raise hand, or if you prefer, you can type your question in the chat.
There are some questions in the chat, Dorota. Would you like me to read them for you?
Please, Reem. Thank you very much.
Okay, so there's a question from Alia, and she says, do we work on each competency by itself?
It is a very, very good question, because in theory, you have all these competencies to work on. But in practice, when you actually with client, being able to focus on more than one competence at a time may be a little bit too much, too challenging. And why I say maybe challenging. Typically, our conscious mind have a limit. We can either take what is it, a 5, or is it sort of 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of information. And so, for example, if you're going to try to address all 8 competency all at once, you may not be fully present in the session, because you will be constantly checking, have I done, am I, you will have that sort of internal dialogue, which will prevent you from being fully present, and therefore maybe some other competency that may be impacted. So I would highly encourage you to give yourself, maybe 1, maximum 2 to 3 things for each session. So you work on 1 to 2 things at a time. But it is better for you to be consistent, So that every single session you give yourself some challenge for 1 or 2 competency, rather than trying to cram too much into one session, because that may be a little bit overwhelming and also challenging and not as enjoyable as a coach too. Does that answer your question? Any other
Yes,
question?
thanks. Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes we have the challenging that want to meet the competencies, and especially when they're recording for the ICF, for accreditation. That's what bothers me sometimes, because I'm really conscious. I want to be able that I'm covering all the competencies, yet I want to be fluid in the session. They're always like these two mix-ups together. So what should I, this is why I'm saying, do I work with the client, with the client that I'm going to focus this competency, I have to really do this like more than 4 or 5 sessions or coaching sessions, then I'll try to implement the second one, or then add the third one, then add the fourth one. This is my thinking. This is how you recommend doing it?
I mean, it doesn't have to be in order. It could be like from like the area that maybe will make the biggest impact. I would start with that area first. But personally, I would recommend maybe taking, like, let's say, the next 5 sessions, I will focus on this competency. And every time you end that session, you kind of reflect back. How did I do on that? Did I do how I wanted? Could I do it even better? I mean, of course, if you have a capacity to do more than one, great. But I know from experience of preparing toward MCC, where you're supposed to pretty much meet all of the markers and more, that it actually can be overwhelming to trying to focus on all of them at the same time while being present. So these are the any other question, or shall we move on? So here I want to do this quick exercise to think of some key strategies that you could use to accelerate your own development as a coach. And by strategies, I mean attending a workshop like this. It could be one of the form of learning or developing yourself. But there are plenty more here. And you can even think for each of the kind of part of the pipeline, what may be a strategy that helps to overcome that potential bottleneck. And for this exercise, maybe we could use a chat function again. So if any of you have utilized any forms of learning, development strategies, let's have them in the chat function here for everyone to see.
There's a comment from Sarah Dorota.
Yeah.
Okay, so her comment says, while we are focusing on our development and competencies, we shouldn't lose sight that the coaching session is for the coachee and not for us.
Yes.
Thank you. Very insightful.
Very insightful. Thank you very much, Sarah. And when I say staying present, that's exactly what I mean. Being with the client and really, supporting a client with the goal that they have. And if we're just looking at check, we're just simply not going to be able to be fully present there. But when you practice enough and one area becoming part of our nature, we're not going to have to think about it so consciously, so deliberately anymore. So what may be some of the other example or strategies to help yourself to accelerate your own development as a coach?
Dorota, there's another comment following that about a reflective journal and making use of balance, the balance wheel, when it will also help.
This is a fantastic comment here, and look at that. This is very first one that came to my mind as I was preparing for this. What else, in addition to reflective journaling or reflection?
There's a comment from Fauzi Dorota. So he's saying, we've been discussing with my colleague, Dr. Isam, and asking him for reflection. We are both attending your session. So Fauzi, would you like to comment?
Yeah, sure. From time to time, I ask the client, some of the client, to record their session for the case of assessment. And I've been basically sharing this with Dr. Assam, and he does the same, requesting the client consent for basically recording the session. And we look at our performance, each other, and we basically said, no, in ICF, they want this. You were good, and basically absorbing the body language and commenting on this and that. Use the what question rather than why and so, and try to get to open-ended question. And these, despite the fact that they look very simple, but believe me, these are very insightful, because it is a reflection of your performance during the actual coaching session. Thank you.
Wow. Fantastic comment, Fauzi. So you've essentially using like peer mentoring or peer supervision in a way. So really great example. What else? We have peer coaching here. One of the very much, I think, underutilized results by coaches is actually being coached. And so when you are being coached, not only you have a chance to develop and learn and also see, what other coach does that is so effective, but also notice what other coach may be doing that is not so effective for you. And when you actually experience something like that, it is so much more powerful than when you're trying to, do just because the theory or the book or someone said it. So coaching supervision, we have someone mentioning here. Fantastic example. What else? Feel free to type on supervision. I have mentioned the second area, being coach as the example I just gave. Mentoring and peer mentoring for sure. Development planning as we've been doing here tonight. Recording and listening to your own sessions. So even if you're not preparing for your credentializing level, I highly recommend every so often record the session, listen to it, just to see, are you progressing? Are you plateauing? Is there any specific area that maybe you were not noticing while you were there with the client instead of, in the session? Experimenting with new tools and approaches. So, I remember I had a time that every single week I would have different things that I would experiment with. And I will do this so many times over and over again until that became like something I could do very much with closed eyes. Reading, someone mentioned also articles and reading and case studies. Those are really great area to accelerate development too. Another area is listening to masterful coaching, because if you only know what you know and you don't know what they really great look like, it may be very, very hard for you to move yourself to that next level. And even if you type on YouTube, masterful coaching sessions, you will actually find a lot of examples there. Sorry. Seeking feedback. So we talk a little bit about seeking feedback from the client, seeking feedback from your mentor coach, and of course, preparing for the next level of credential. So as you're looking at this list, notice if you have any specific form of development that is your default. Like, for example, it's always the webinar that you're always attending, or is it always about reading? And is there one or two that you maybe not utilizing enough, or you'd like to try out? And of course, you might have a preferred learning style, and that might continue forever and ever. However, if you really want to develop your competence, you will definitely have to utilize different strategies, different forms of development. And I encourage you to maybe try out something that it doesn't feel particularly appealing at first, just to try it out and see what happened, or what's going on for you there, and lean into that challenge, into that unknown. So notice, what percentage of time you are actually doing your reflective journaling or any form of reflection. What percentage of your development time is actually spent on reading? And of course, I'm happy to share this slides with you after the session. But the key here is really, as you're looking at the middle column here, strategies to develop, is to bring more than one, maybe 2 to 3 strategies that you can, continue utilizing to helping yourself to grow to the next level as a coach.
Dorota, we have a question from Alia, who's got her hand raised. So Alia, I'd open the floor to you, please.
Yes, I had a question. As far as, ICF has their own competencies, and there's some different methods or way of approaches other than ICF. Is it a good idea to explore other methodologies or something that's out of ICF, or would that complicate things more?
So really an interesting question. I would say definitely yes. I mean, ICF might have a methodology, but it's really ICF looking at skills. So, utilizing different tools, different techniques, different perspective can only help with meeting your ICF competencies. Personally, I wouldn't just stick to one framework. I believe the competency are developed as an incredible tool, and it's something that it's free. You can utilize whether you're being mentor or not. You can utilize those kind of competencies to self-assess yourself in a way. But there are the modalities, and if you have access to them, personally, I would say that's really fantastic to hear. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, thank you very much.
Great. All right, so we have probably about 5 more minutes, and I know that Salman will need some time as well to close off the session. But I'll encourage you to maybe take a screenshot of this development plan template, and as soon as the session ends, or if you prefer tomorrow, if it's already too late for you, take a little step at creating that first development plan for yourself. And once you meet the goals on this development plan, create another one. Because as some people say, plan may be useless, but the actually planning process is something that is extremely valuable. So with that in mind, I just want to see if you have any final questions or comments, and if not, we can hand over to Salman to close off the session. And here are some of the final reflection, just for yourself to take a moment and reflect on what have you learned here? What is it that you can actually take from what you heard or from other people shared, and to actually do something different. Any final questions? If not, we can. We have Haytham here posted the template. Thank you very much, Haytham. And there may be different templates, and feel free to develop your own one if this or that doesn't work for you. So with that in mind, looks like we don't have any further questions. So I just really want to thank you for being here and celebrating this International Coaching Week with us today. And I really wish all of you incredible journey to ongoing development as a coach. You're creating fantastic community. So keep on growing and developing yourself as coaches. And I guess we're all on somewhere on our journey to mastery. So thank you very much. And I'd like to hand over to Salman.
Thank you very much, Rhoda. I think, I mean, I'm seeing the comments coming in. Absolutely. Very informative, very helpful to all. I see everyone typing in thank yous. And if you could just advance the slides. We do have a couple of ending notes. Of course, there's more work. There's more webinars this week. If you haven't signed up or registered, please do so. We've all are on our ICF LinkedIn page. You'll see everything on ICF Twitter account as well as Instagram. So there's more coming this week. And also, I think on the next slide, okay, we even have validation from all species. Thank you for that. You see here, we have a QR code. Please do copy this QR code, as well as I'll ask Coach Haytham if you wouldn't mind posting the link to there it is. Wow, you read my mind. So in the chat, you have the link to the survey if you would prefer to go that way. Otherwise, you can use the QR code. Please do give us your feedback. We will be considering it. We will be looking at it. We're coaches, so of course we live in the world of feedback, and your feedback is highly appreciated. So with that, once again, on behalf of all, I want to thank you for everyone for attending, and we look forward to seeing you in the next webinars. Thank you very much. So once you've done the QR code, once again, thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Take care.